Well, not the outcome I think we all wanted from the Toronto Blue Jays Yankees series, but one that was a little bit expected. How does the community feel about it? Fans are letting us know. Let's talk about it on this episode of Locked On Blue Jays.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Brayden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Wasco, Carter First 2 as well on Instagram, or as well on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays and Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you're new here to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, please do so. Helps out. It's free. You might as well do it. You get your shorts, your podcasts, your live streams, the videos, the whole ordeal. It's all right there for you. If you're listening anywhere else, go over to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button anyway. We like to see the numbers there. Lot to get into. I think this was a massive series and a lot of takeaways out of this. Didn't go down necessarily the way that I wanted it to, especially after taking the first one. I think the expectation was then to grab one of the other two. Didn't happen. But I think in the back of my mind, and Carter made it pretty obvious on the podcast where he stood, that probably expected one of three, 1 and 2. Where does it leave you, Carter?
Yeah, you'd love to see a series win here. You'd love to see a series sweep. You really would have put the Yankees kind of in their own grave. Would have really sealed up the fate, at least on the Yankees side of things, for the AL East. Still would have to deal with the Red Sox, but they lost a couple games this weekend, so they didn't really lose ground on the Red Sox, but now only 2 games up on the New York Yankees. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast here. The Yankees have a very easy schedule coming up. Would have been a good time to take advantage, but I said a lot on the last podcast on Friday that this for me was about staying alive, just kind of like not completely, hitting the panic button and falling off the face of the earth. Just take one game. Didn't take the game that I expected. Wasn't the game that I expected, but they did put up a very good effort. Pretty much a perfect game in the first game of that series. And then at that point, you definitely want to take 2 out of 3, end up dropping the next 2 games. A little bit of a more of a sour spot to go into an off day once again. But I'm not panicking. It's a tough playoff environment in New York, in the Bronx Bombers, Yankee Stadium. So I'm okay with 2 out of 3, but just kind of the way they lost some of the games this weekend, that is what leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth. And some uncertainty regarding Bichette obviously doesn't add to that equation either.
Yeah, I think the Bichette of it all really was a terrifying situation because what is going to come of it, we'll get into all that, obviously. But from a team perspective, like that first game, they go out and it was an absolute gem of a game. It really was. It was fun to watch. That was awesome. The other two, to be honest, I think what I take away from this entire series, and I'm going to this is going to be a quick summarization, but I didn't hate what this team did. I don't think it was, oh my God, this team can't do a thing. They don't have a chance. It wasn't like you're getting blown out of the water. And I think that's a good thing. Against another playoff team, you are putting up competitive games. And at this point of the season, it's a lot different if you were to go out there in the last 2 games, be beat 7-1, 10-1, 10-2, whatever it may be. But every game was the last 2 games that you lost, they were both competitive. You were in both of those games. And I think that's a big component here for the mentality of this team, is knowing that they were 1 at bat away, a hit with runner on scoring positions away from that being their game. So I think I left with a better taste in my mouth. And there are a lot of people losing their minds on Twitter. I left with a better taste in my mouth than I did after the previous series, because I think that this showed me that this team is in there competing, battling against a very good New York Yankee team, against Max Fried. I think there were a lot of good components. It didn't end the way you wanted it to, but I'm not, you're right, Carter. I think where the panic button is in the room for me right now, I'm not reaching. The last couple series, I said there was some problems that we needed to fix. And I think I'm getting further away from the panic button after this series because I thought it was all right.
The reality is, like, the concerns we had going into the series, specifically the bullpen, was pretty good in the series. You only had the one run given up, and it was from Louis Varland in his appearance. Bullpen looked very good after the Max Scherzer start. Kevin Gausman did very well, so he didn't really need a bullpen in that start, which definitely helps things when your bullpen is struggling. And they got that much-needed rest. You didn't really have to pitch on Thursday. Again, pitched one inning of relief on Friday, then you had a couple of innings on Saturday, Sunday, then you had another off day on Monday. So you look at the bullpen, things are looking at least a little bit better in terms of that situation. Again, when we talk about Kevin Gausman, which we'll really dive into, but he's been absolutely insane, really cementing himself as the number one for this playoff rotation. And then the offense, again, just in the last two games of the series, really just that one big hit away from completely blowing the game open, coming up multiple times with runners on second, one out, runners on second with two outs, a runner on third and second with one out. They had multiple instances in these games where they could have really broke the game open, but just faltered with one swing. I got to Cam Schlittler, who's been very good since coming up to the major leagues as well. Bounced him out in 1 2/3 innings, which is exactly what you want to do against your division rival in the first game of a series. And then Ryan Yarbrough comes in, looks very good, kind of does what he did for the Toronto Blue Jays last year, which is why I wanted him on the team. But again, that's completely something different. But long relief guy. But when you have Eric Lauer, kind of does the same thing now at this point. But like it's tough to be like overly mad, but also like you can't really be happy about losing a 2-1 series against your AL East opponent. This just doesn't really make me feel too much different from before the series. We know that the Yankees are going to be a battle. We know that a Yankee series is going to be a fight. You just got to put yourself in the best position to succeed, which we've been saying this entire season. And the best way to do that is to win the AL East, is to get that bye, avoid the wild card series, and then have a divisional series where you're playing the majority of games at home, because this team is very good at home. And we've seen it against the New York Yankees. I believe now they are 2-4 against the Yankees on the road. And I think it's 7-1 with that, or it'd be 6-1 with the 4-game sweep and then a 2-1 series win. So it just goes to show how important home field advantage is, not only in the regular season, but obviously immensely more in the playoffs.
Well, and Carter, one thing I wanted to bring up, absolutely home field. I mean, this team needs it. It seems like they play when they play at Rogers, they are a much better team, especially against other AL opponents. But one thing specifically I want to focus on in this third game is right that it didn't go the way we wanted to. And you're right. It's tough because we have to be in that middle ground of where you're not happy about it, but you're not devastated, destroyed about this series either. And I think I look back to one thing in particular in game three. Game three, you didn't have Bichette. You weren't starting Daulton Varsho. So you are playing in a game three against the Yankees without two of your best hitters in your lineup. And you're still in there competing. And I was not thrilled seeing Varsho not play, but I do understand guys need rest days and off days. I would have liked him to be in there. I think this game I don't know, maybe it's not different, but I think having one more bat that you really trust in the lineup that can do damage, it's tough. It's a tough scenario to have because, again, you don't want to play these guys into the dirt before the playoffs, but you also need some of these guys to be able to get those wins to secure the AL East. So I'm somewhere in the middle. Obviously, the Bichette stuff we're going to get into, just how that play happened, him coming back into game two, and then obviously missing game three. We'll talk about that more in the second segment, Carter. But just the fact of not having those two guys in your lineup for game three and still sort of competing. I mean, they had a chance to win. What do you think about there?
Bichette absolutely makes a difference in this baseball game. We saw it multiple times where it was really that 4, 5, 6 spot that came into play where those were those clutch at bats that you needed. But after Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it was Alejandro, Kirk, Ernie, Clement, and Ty France in this game.
Yeah.
You have Daulton Varsho and a guy like Bichette in. Like it goes George Springer, then maybe it's Daulton Varsho at that second spot. Well, we'll say he's 5th or 6th in this scenario because he has been there. Bichette's hitting 4. You have Varsho and then Kirk in that 4, 5, 6 spot instead of that Kirk, Clement, and that France trio. Ty France has been very good since he also breaking 808 OPS. Like he has exceeded expectations. Ernie Clement has really exceeded expectations all year. Those guys can't match up to Bichette. They can't match up to Daulton Varsho, who's hitting a home run every 10 at-bats, seeming like one every single series, which is how it's been working out on pace for over 50 home runs. It's been absolutely ridiculous. So after Vladimir Guerrero Jr., that would have been Bichette's spot. And there was at least 3 times in that third game alone where Bichette would have came up and made a difference for the Toronto Blue Jays ball club. So not even kind of accounting for that second game, didn't go out of the game completely, had that weather delay. Maybe that helps him out a little bit, but probably not feeling 100% for the rest of that game as well. So I think if you have Bichette in that game, he probably comes up at least in one of those situations, and then you have a tie ball game. Maybe we have extra innings. Maybe that ignites a big run for the Toronto Blue Jays, a big rally for the Blue Jays. Bichette was one of those guys that hit Max Fried very well in the other starts that he has made this season. So having Bichette, who was one of the hottest, if not the hottest hitters in all of baseball going into this series, in your lineup would have been a massive difference. And then Daulton Varsho, he's not in the lineup because, it is Max Fried, it's a lefty. So that same idea of setting your players up for success. Varsho is going to hit righties way better than lefties. So I'm not going to draw on that as much because Varsho was available. Like, he could have played in this game. He just didn't because, again, the matchups didn't really make sense. But Bichette absolutely would have made a massive difference throughout this lineup. There's a few games from game 3 I want to talk about. The Bichette injury, obviously, in the second game. And then just a little bit more into Kevin Gausman and just some of the performances in game 1, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. specifically. But we had some tipping pitches in this series as well, which will be covered in the third game of the series. So much more that we want to go into, and we'll dive into it all coming up after this short break. Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. It can link up all the accounts in minutes and see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Monarch Money has helped me a ton since I've started making a little bit more money. I've been trying to invest, and I've been trying to budget my investments, trying to figure out what I should invest in, how I can do that with the amount of money and revenue I am coming in with and acquiring from my jobs and my incomes. And Monarch Money has been huge for allowing me to stay organized and stay on top of my finances. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. You can use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB.
So, Carter, continuing on, obviously wanting to get into a couple of guys specifically. I think let's start with Kevin Gausman because, a guy that I was high on from the start of the year that I, penciled in as the number one guy. Just an unbelievable day from him. And I guess my biggest question now is with Shane Bieber in the mix, and it's probably between those two guys, Shane Bieber and Kevin Gausman. Kevin Gausman throws up 8 innings, only allowing 4 hits, 1 run, 5 Ks, a walk, and a home run given up. Just a great day. Now, where does he sort of slot for you in that playoff rotation? Is he your number one guy? Do you go to Shane Bieber? There's still a lot of time to figure all that out, obviously. But I think Kevin Gausman's making a very, very good case for him game 1.
I think for me, I already know who the game 1 starter is going to be, and it is going to be Kevin Gausman because this guy has been here for a very long time. He didn't just get acquired at this trade deadline, and he has been pitching effectively, not just for the last 2 starts. It's been over the last 10 games. There still is some uncertainty with Shane Bieber. He's only made 3 starts for the Toronto Blue Jays. Kevin Gausman has made, 27, I think, at this point this year. We can look that up and get the exact picture, but it's going to be over 25. It's going to probably be just under 30.
28.
There you go. There's a lot of starts for Kevin Gausman up to this point in this season. So you have a little bit more certainty with Gausman. And this has been your guy. This has been John Schneider's guy. This has been the Toronto Blue Jays guy, to be completely honest, since he has signed a contract for this team. He has been their number 1 pitcher on this roster this entire time. And we talk about a lot building relationships as a manager. It's a lot easier for us not knowing Kevin Gausman, not having that personal relationship, that manager to player relationship, where we can say, it's clearly just off skill. Whoever is pitching the best at that specific time is going to pitch in that playoff game. But for a manager, it's a lot different. You got to have feel for your players. You got to have trust in your players. It can't just be one of those things where if one of your guys has one bad outing, you're going to yank him out of his spot, whether that's Jeff Hoffman, whether that's a starting pitcher. And it goes to show throughout their games as well. We've seen it with Chris Bassitt, Kevin Gausman, a lot of these guys that have earned respect. If it goes into the 6th inning and they're at 100 pitches, it's all off the player's feel, especially with these veterans like Kevin Gausman. If Kevin Gausman wants to go out there for a 6th inning and he's telling John Schneider, hey, I'm ready to go out there and I can get this guy out for you, 99 times out of 100, he is going to let Kevin Gausman finish out that game. So I think just with the repertoire that Kevin Gausman has built up and the trust that he has built up with John Schneider in him, I think right now it's pretty much already decided, especially with the recent stretch that he's been on. For me, it's obvious Kevin Gausman is going to be this team's number one starter, even if Shane Bieber has his next 4 starts where he goes 7 innings scoreless. I think no matter what, we're going to see Kevin Gausman be rolled up for a playoff series. And honestly, I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Kevin Gausman's always been my guy. I said, if there's a couple guys I would debate on getting jerseys of, it was always Kevin Gausman who was in the conversation because I absolutely love the guy. And I think his talent and what he can bring to the field is just that next level, right? It's that little bit step above what the other guys bring. Maybe Shane Bieber, not so much. Shane Bieber's in that conversation as well. But it's just undebatable. And another guy, Carter, I wanted to bring up that probably, again, doesn't get enough credit. Braden Fisher, dude, this guy is unbelievable.
Maybe that's why the bullpen got better since September. You have Braden Fisher back in the bullpen and things start to, kind of get right on the tracks as soon as he comes back.
Yeah, he's a guy that you can just rely on. It's weird. This guy, if you throw him in a high leverage situation, he's going to succeed. If you throw him in a low leverage situation, maybe not so much apparently. But high leverage, this guy, late in ball games, is awesome. And he's tons of fun to watch. He gets the job done. And the little 3 punchy action doesn't hurt either. Definitely fun to watch. So Braden Fisher, I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's been so good. In that time where he was sent down, the bullpen was terrible. So I don't know, maybe glue guy. Braden Fisher, glue guy.
Yeah, maybe that's the narrative we got to start. This guy is just an absolute beauty in the dugout. Maybe he's the guy that's on the aux. He's the guy bumping the tunes for the Toronto Blue Jays. A lot of respect for a guy that, would come from AAA and all of a sudden be back on the aux for the Toronto Blue Jays. There's got to be something that this guy's doing in that dugout that is igniting the boys. But you gave a shout out to Braden Fisher. I just want to give a shout out in the first game to the entire Toronto Blue Jays offense. Cam Schlittler got through an inning and 2/3 and threw 66 pitches. Like I said, that's exactly what you want to do, especially to a young starting pitcher. He has very good stuff. You want to get to him early. That's exactly what they do. Again, Ryan Yarbrough kind of, takes the throat out of you a little bit, rips the throat out of you, and kind of ruins that thing you had going on because after that, you get through 7 innings and you only use 2 pitchers. So kind of the same idea. Not really hurting them too much in the grand scheme of things, but you beat the Yankees 7-1. You play an unbelievable game on top of Kevin Gausman. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 4-for-4 game backside home run. I mean, just this guy is insane at Yankee Stadium. Bichette, 3-for-3 in that game as well. Like, these are the games that you need your superstars to carry you. You need your stars to show up in September. And that's what happened in the first game of this series. Going into the second game of the series, not exactly what happened. I think we just got to dive kind of right into this Bichette injury and that obviously having that weather delay after. In that moment, I see Bichette sliding to home. He's got the knees up, shins right into the shin guard of Austin Wells. I'm not going to lie, I thought the season was over. If Bichette goes down, like, this guy he has been the main source of you driving and scoring and runs. Maybe George Springer, throw him in there too. He's very important, probably the most important. But Bichette is right up there as well. This guy has been ridiculous this season. So I see him not able to put weight on his leg whatsoever. And I'm like, this is it. We saw the hole in the third game of the series right in that number 4 spot. Bichette comes up, probably drives a few of those runners in. Like, you need Bichette within this lineup. Thank God he comes back in that game. There obviously is probably a contusion, probably some bruising. It looked like a pretty impactful collision there. So it definitely didn't feel good the following morning. So you got to hope this is just precautionary. But what an at-bat by Nathan Lucas with 2 outs there as well. Drive a ball into right field. A beautiful throw by Cody Bellinger. You can definitely tell it wasn't Aaron Judge out there throwing the ball. I'm surprised he's even out in the outfield. That was something the Toronto Blue Jays tried to take advantage of a lot this weekend. But Cody Bellinger, beautiful throw. And just very happy to see that it's not anything major, at least in the Bichette front.
Yeah, dude, I was pretty devastated when that happened. I'm watching that. I'm getting texts from you. Skylar Peters, I think, shot us a text as well. And man, I was going to be destroyed. I was very, very worried, but he does come back. I think you talked about a little bit, the rain delay and that helping him come back. I think what that allowed them to do was go and make sure with Bichette that it wasn't anything super serious, that he could return. So that was great. But at the end of the day, you absolutely miss him. He is Bichette. He's the guy that leads the league in hits, in doubles. This guy is fantastic. And a team without Bichette is going to struggle. That's one of your top 3 bats out of the lineup. it would hurt any team. I mean, you saw what happens to the Yankees when Aaron Judge isn't in the lineup. You see what happens to all these teams when they don't have their big guys. Well, yeah, Bichette's important, shockingly. And yeah, dude, I don't know. I was pretty terrified, but good on Bo. Hopefully he's back. I think with the off day, I'm assuming he'll be back next game. But wait and see. It might be another game or two, but it won't. It doesn't look like it's anything terrible. So we can all thank the good baseball gods that Bo Bichette's gonna be able to still play. And you know what? You talked a little bit about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as well. What he's been able to do in not just these 3 games, but just at Yankee Stadium altogether. When he plays the Yankees, he gets, I don't know if it's a chip on his shoulder or wanting to prove something, but this guy shows up when they play the Yankees. So huge shout out to Vladdy. That was fantastic to see.
Yeah, he's been very good in the last probably 5-6 games or so.
Yeah.
Right when he came back from the hamstring injury, it looked like the timing kind of reset for Vladdy. It looked like he lost it a little bit, and he definitely found it, and usually does come with the New York Yankees. Because just over the weekend series, like he hit 615, had 8 hits, a home run, 2 RBIs, 3 runs. He's the Yankee killer, and that's why some people are scared of the New York Yankees in a playoff series. I'm inviting it a little bit. It does scare me, obviously, being the New York Yankees and AL East opponent, and just like the fallout if it didn't go well. I would not want to be on Twitter for a very long time, and just every time I looked at MLB playoff baseball, I'd be frustrated. Like, it would not be a fun time just, coming to terms if the Toronto Blue Jays did end up losing that series. That has to be a possibility that I have to be at least ready for. But the way the Toronto Blue Jays have played the New York Yankees up to this point, especially if you win the AL East and have a predominantly home series, that's a spot that I don't mind the Toronto Blue Jays in. I think there's some other teams that I prefer them playing, but the New York Yankees don't necessarily scare me as much as some other teams in the American League.
So let me ask you this one, because somebody asked me this a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it was on one of the radio shows. I can't remember, but it was, who would you rather face in the playoffs? The Yankees or the Red Sox? Who terrifies you the most? To be honest with you, I would rather play the Yankees than the Red Sox, but that's just me. I think that team's tougher. The Blue Jays tend to play the Yankees very well. They have this season so far. Are you sort of in the same boat with me?
No, I want the Red Sox. I absolutely want the Red Sox. And a lot of it is because they have a younger team. They have a team that's a little bit more inexperienced. Okay. And you look at the starting pitching. Garrett Crochet scares me, but other than that, like, you got Dustin May, you got Brian Bayo. Like, there's a lot of guys in that rotation that after that first game, like, I'm not that worried about a lot of those guys. And then Aroldis Chapman, if you get to the 9th inning, good luck. Because Aroldis Chapman decided, the funniest quote of all time, I realized I have to locate my fastball at the major league level, even though he's throwing 102. Like, that helps. But yeah, locating your fastball is definitely going to help. That was a very funny quote, but he's completely figured it out. And
he touched 105 this year.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, what this guy's doing, he's having a career year. He's having a George Springer type of season at the ripe age. What is he, 30, 37? 36, whatever he is, he's up there in age, and he's really figuring it out. So don't get to the 9th inning in the Boston Red Sox games. If you're playing them, like, Garrett Whitlock's pretty good. Justin Slayton can be good. But with a younger team and just a less experienced team as well, for me, I'm not as scared of the Boston Red Sox. Like, the Yankees have been there, done that, and they have a lot of power. The home run ball definitely plays in the playoffs. So I'm a little bit more scared of the Yankees compared to the Red Sox. But if we're looking at, like, maybe the Tigers, like, you get Tiger Skubal, you got Jack Flaherty over there. Like, I'm really I look at pitching a lot of the times when we're in the playoffs. Sure. And then the home run ball. Because we've seen time and time again, it's starting pitching, it's bullpen arms, and it's home run power. It's the power ball. It's who can square out baseballs more often than not. And those are the things you look for. So some teams that have that or possess that talent, the Houston Astros, all the experience in the world as well. That's going to be a team I'm not, is entirely impressed to play. The Yankees and then the Tigers, not as much like the home run power, but they have the pitching. Bullpen volatility might be, starting to see some cracks in that bullpen, but a lot of things can change, even though there is only, what is now 18 games left in the Toronto Blue Jays season. So it's coming up quickly, and all these games definitely matter a ton. And there's a lot more that I want to go into in the third game of the series. There's 2 specific things. One is about Max Scherzer and the possible pitch tipping that was going on. And then it was this decision that John Schneider made in that 9th inning that had Twitter all up in a swirl. We were going to dive right into that after this break right here on Locked On Blue Jays.
Carter, today's episode brought to you by Zippix. You guys know I've talked about them quite a bit. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or the energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. Available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Not going to lie to you guys. This week, I'm morning shifts the whole time. So I'm up at like 4 a.m., 3:30. And you know what? The caffeine boost in the morning is sort of unbelievable, because I don't want to sit there just sipping coffee the whole time. I feel like it's a bad habit. I like to have my 1 cup of coffee, but that's it. So the caffeine toothpicks, it's like caffeine and B12, I think, is in it. They're sort of awesome. Minty flavor, sort of gives you that awake feeling. I don't know. And I like them a lot. Carter just got some as well. He gave them a try when he was at work. I think he loved them as well. They come in this little, you get this little tube that it comes in where you can store them too, so they're easy to carry around. It's really nice. It's surprisingly nice. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. So, Carter, continuing on, a lot to talk about. Let's start with the Max Scherzer stuff. I think I'll throw it over to you. Where do you want to take this? Do you want to go just start on how he did, or do you want to jump right into the tipping pitches?
We can jump right into the tipping pitches and then kind of go into some other issues with the Max Scherzer start. And there's one obvious thing that we both talked about and we saw right away with that home run pitch as well. But there were some other things going on with that home run pitch. Is that during Ben Rice's home run at bat, you could see that the Yankees were talking on the base paths. They were definitely looking at something, and they had their attention fully focused on Max Scherzer. And this is why you do this at the major league level, because we have seen it before with some of these pitchers. We've seen it with Jose Berrios. We have seen it, I think, with Nate Pearson. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Kevin Gausman was definitely one, though, against the Minnesota Twins.
Yep.
That was he was tipping pitches as well. So there's little things. Sometimes it can be just the way you're gripping the ball. I think the Kevin Gausman one was the veins in his forearm. You could tell with the way he was gripping specific pitches, the veins would kind of flare up in his arm, and you could see the movement within the forearm. So it's little things like that all it takes sometimes to tip pitches. And it looks like Max Scherzer was tipping in some sort of way against the New York Yankees here, because this is from Garrett Phillips. And he says, during the Ben Rice's home run at bat, Cody Bellinger initiated the pitch tipping signals on Max Scherzer's changeup from first base. If you look closely at the video, he's got posted there, so you want to take a look. It's Gary Phillips on Twitter. But he relayed them to Aaron Judge, who then relayed them to Rice, and they asked Cody Bellinger about this, and he said, that is correct. That is what was happening. So it's not just rumored, as I said, it is confirmed that the New York Yankees were tipping pitches. Just so you guys know, if you weren't aware, tipping pitches and and relaying signs, I should say, to your team is legal. It's not an illegal thing. If you notice that a pitcher is tipping pitches, that's on them. That's their fault for showing you what pitch they're throwing, and it's just the competitive advantage that you've earned. If you're smart enough to figure out what they're throwing, then that is an advantage that you can definitely have. John Schneider kind of continues on and gives his take on the situation. He says that they were relaying pitches. They're good at it, and maybe I'm the only one that's going to say it publicly. So everyone kind of seemed to know that Max Scherzer, at least at some point, was relaying pitches. And I got the last quote here to kind of sum it all up, and then I'll throw it back over to you for your initial opinions and reactions. This is from Max Scherzer on the tipping pitches saga, and he says, that's part of the game. That is part of the game. That is part of the game. It is 2025. Everyone knows it. We live it. And once again, that's just part of the game. So I think it's Max Scherzer thinks it's just part of the game. He's not too worried about it. He's more so, again, the annotation there is he's kind of blaming himself. It's not a problem if you don't show the players what you're throwing. Just don't tip your pitches and don't give them any sort of visual cue when what you're throwing, and it's not going to be a problem. And that's my exact take on the situation as well. It's your own fault if you're tipping pitches.
Yeah, it's part of the game.
No, is it actually? Yeah, you and Max Scherzer are both on the same page there.
Yeah. You know what? It is what it is. That's it. You know what? If you're doing it legally, which is on the base paths, and you're you're signaling to the batter, 100%, I'm here for it. Obviously, there are times where it is done illegally.
Yeah, no garbage cans are allowed to be used in the major leagues.
That's right. No cameras, no little buzzers, none of that. Garbage cans, whatever it may be. This is something that happens. I mean, growing up, like we used to do this on the base paths, Carter. Like if you'd be able to see a guy usually had maybe 2 pitches when we were playing, right? They may have thrown a changeup for their third
No, everyone
pitch.
had a knuckleball as well. That just was literally the worst pitch that you've probably ever seen. It was just like a like home run pitch, like you home run derby type style. That was their knuckleball that everyone seemed to have.
Yeah, and you know what? It's been a part of now growing up with baseball because it's getting so analytical. It's not just get up there and swing the bat. It's everything is so technical, and if you can get the advantage on a pitcher in a legal way, it's on you. Like that's something growing up that we were always told to think about, right? If you're a pitcher, you have to be thinking about that. If there's a runner on second, you better be hiding that stuff because they will see it. We had guys that would just openly change grip, not in the glove. What are you doing, right? So now at the major league level, absolutely. If this is happening in kids ball and high school and college ball, it's absolutely happening in the major leagues to a very higher degree. These are professional athletes that get paid to play baseball. They are going to try to get every single advantage that they possibly can. So yeah, no, tough on Max Scherzer. It's something that's got to be fixed. Usually when it happens once, these guys go and make adjustments post game, for the next start. It usually does happen. So I think this is something now that other teams will be looking for in Max Scherzer now that it's out there in the world and out there in the wild. But it's on Max Scherzer. Can you figure this out of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and change it for the next outing? Some guys can't do it because it's a part of their routine, part of their windup, whatever it may be. And that's a bigger change. Some guys, it's something little. Maybe they just weren't focusing on it that specific game. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Max Scherzer and the tipping pitches for sure.
Well, and Gary Phillips talks about like the changeup that he was tipping earlier on the bat, but he doesn't talk about the middle fastball that Max Scherzer threw right down, the heart of the plate, obviously, that got launched into the seats by Ben Rice. Like, I don't know if he was tipping that pitch, but even if you're not, like if you throw a middle fastball, it's not going to matter if you're tipping pitches or not. That's a pitch that hitters are going to do damage on, and that's what the New York Yankees do. They hit home runs, they take advantage of mistake pitches, and that's where you're getting yourself into a hole where Max Scherzer has had that problem this entire season. If you had one drawback for Max Scherzer, it's the home run ball, and that usually stems from that mistake pitch, from that command. It's like when you're playing Wii Sports and the exclamation mark pops up, and everyone's like, "Oh God, what's going to happen?" It's a meatball right down the middle, and that's what Max Scherzer had on that Ben Rice pitch, the double by Cody Bellinger. Same idea, fastball right down the middle. Cody Bellinger's a very good hitter. He's the type of player that Brayden wanted to be at the major league level. He's everything Brayden aspired to be. Just that, the player that plays the game right, and he's a 5-tool player, but Brayden unfortunately not able to get there like Cody Bellinger. A little bit of a ricochet shot, unfortunately, there, but we got to keep it fun, unfortunately, when we're talking about Max Scherzer getting absolutely pelted. Not really that bad, but, had a few mistake pitches, which hurt him in that game, and that's all it takes against good baseball teams.
Yeah, and that's something I want to bring up, too. Everybody's losing their mind about this Max Scherzer start. I don't think it was horrible. Like, there's some times where I watch a game and I'm like, this guy, it does not have it. But that's not the feeling I got watching Max Scherzer in this game. I think it was just a couple mistakes. Obviously, the tipping pitches is a big deal. So I'm not losing my mind about this. I think that this one is, I think Max Scherzer has the ability to come back from this and just sort of, look at this as like a couple fluke outings. I think he'll be fine. I'm not that concerned yet. Maybe if it keeps happening and he's not making those adjustments and he's continuing to throw these middle pitches, yeah, then maybe I'll be worried. But as of right now, I didn't absolutely hate the start. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it. Sort of in the middle. Sort of with the series. Didn't love it. Didn't hate it.
See, one thing I would argue back is that you said, like, if this continues to be a problem with the middle pitches, and I would argue it kind of has been a problem. Like,
sorry, I meant that as like the tipping pitches. Yeah, the middle fastball. Okay. Yeah, it has been all season.
That's been the Achilles heel for Max Scherzer. And whenever damage is done to Max Scherzer, it's usually a fastball or a changeup directly over the middle of the plate. Sometimes it's a hanging slider, but you get the picture. When you're over the middle of the plate and it's elevated, it's not going to go well for you more times than not. There's actually two things I wanted to go over. One of them involves Cam Schlittler and the way Buck Martinez was trying to say that. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to actually talk about that. Let's dive into that part now.
Yeah, let's do it. No, dude, I texted immediately. I'm like, what is the over-under on Buck messing this name up live on air?
It's just like the most obvious one of all time. It's like this, like for us, like it's already close enough for like initially when I learned this name when he pitched against the Blue Jays, I'm like, okay, we got to make sure we don't say this unless maybe that's our spin zone if he's really bad. And then he diced up the Blue Jays the first game. And you have Buck Martinez, where I think he said it twice in ending in 2/3. So you don't have not a lot of time to say it, but he said it at least twice on the broadcast, which is why we love Buck Martinez. He gives you moments like this, like Kevin Bichette having some sacks. Now you get Kevin Schlittler with being, I guess, not a fan favorite, at least of Buck Martinez.
Yeah, God, that was awesome. That was like, I knew it. That's why I texted the group chat before. I'm like, over under on this happening. Immediately
can we say what it is, or should we just refrain and people can kind of look it up on their own times? I'll let you say it if you want to, but it's not that bad, but it was really funny to hear, on live television from the Blue Jays broadcast.
Yeah, it's just classic Buck. It's just like any tough name at all, or name that like you think Buck could mess up, he's probably going to mess it up. But in saying all of that, love Buck. So happy when he's on the broadcast because he does make it a ton more fun. It's hard to hate that guy.
Yeah, he's a Blue Jays legend. Throw him in the ring of excellence. That's where he should be at this point with the Toronto Blue Jays, leaving us at least if this is the farewell tour, he's leaving us with a lot of good memories. And unfortunately, since this is the last thing I do want to talk about, is a little bit of a negative thing. Yep. Nathan Lucas reaches base again, another clutch hit in that 9th inning, and a little bit of a questionable decision. This is the first time for me in a while that I didn't like the decision from John Schneider. You have Miles Straw up to the plate in the top of the 9th inning. You have Nathan Lucas on first base. First pitch of the at-bat, you decide to send Nathan Lucas. And Miles Straw is a contact hitter. He's a guy that's not going to strike out. Even if worst-case scenario happens, he hits a ground ball to the shortstop, to the second base, wherever it ends up going. He's really fast. Like Miles Straw, that's his calling card. He's a fast baseball player. The odds of him getting turned into and getting hitting a double play ball is very unlikely. He's probably going to beat it out to first base. And you have the guy on your baseball team, which is arguably, for me, this is probably where I'm at, the MVP up to this point of your team in George Springer. And maybe that's not even that shouldn't be a hot take at this point, is where I'm at. And you take the bat out of his hands by calling that play, and it doesn't go according to plan. Maybe you reach a second base. Maybe we're talking about this differently. But I just don't like that scenario where you're taking the bat out of your best player's hand, and you're in a spot where Nathan Lucas, even if Miles Straw gets out, if George Springer hits a gap, Nathan Lucas can score from first base. You're not yes, you want to get him in scoring position so you can just hit that single. But I think with how George Springer has been hitting, especially recently, I don't necessarily love the call of taking the bat out of his hands, especially with a good throwing catcher behind the plate in Austin Wells.
Carter, that nail on the head. The goal of that inning is to get it to George Springer, because he's the guy that can do the damage, right? As much as you trust those other guys, George Springer in a big moment against the Yankees, that's the goal. And to throw on a hit and run with Miles Straw and Nathan Lucas in that scenario, mind-boggling. And again, if it was maybe just the steal, I think I would have been okay. But when Miles Straw takes a wild swing because he's trying to get contact, I'm not a fan. And the only reason I'm going to say that, I don't even love the steal, to be honest with you. But
yeah, see, I'm the other way. If you're going to call that, I want the hit and run. I don't want just a steal there, because I think at least with the hit and run, you can see what they're trying to do. Miles Straw being that contact hitter, he's trying to put the ball in play. You probably are going to bet more often than not that he's going to be able to get the bat on the ball, even if he fouls it off. It's just the way it worked out. And just again, for me, it's just you have your best player on your team. Let him, be the driving force. Let him win you the baseball game.
Yeah, I think you take your chance and just Miles Straw go up there, try to do something. And you also lose a strike on Miles Straw, right? A guy that's will go up there and battle and hopefully put something in play. You're now putting him down in the count. Just the whole call itself wasn't great. I think in thinking about that, you have to be we just got almost guaranteed to get to George Springer, barring worst case scenario double play. But you're getting to the guy you want to hit. And instead, you're, like you said, taking the bat out of his hands. So just a bad call. And I don't like to hammer John Schneider on a lot of things. I think he's done a pretty good job this season. This was a very dumb move from my perspective. And I was thinking that immediately. I'm like, oh man, because you just saw what they did in the 8th inning. They just stole with Addison Barger. I'm like, well, they're absolutely going to try something here. And I think this is the wrong play. And then they did it, got out. Miles Straw gets out. Bang, bang, bang. There's the game. Well, is that how you want to lose to the Yankees? Not me. Yeah.
Well, and it definitely sucks that it's the last game of the series and that there's an off day. And we're going to have to think about it for an extended period of time, which is definitely not the most fun scenario, at least for us here in Toronto Blue Jays land. But in the grand scheme of things, you're still 2 games up on the division for the division lead. It's not, the most comfortable place that you would want to be, but it is still the place that you want to be in first place. So we're going to have to see how that does work for the Toronto Blue Jays down the stretch. So we do have an off day on Monday. So again, if you guys have anything specific that you want to talk about, we do have a couple ideas that we have discussed down behind the scenes, but nothing concretely. So yeah, leave comments on what you would prefer that we talk about. We did that on the last episode as well, through some IKF comments in there. So anything you guys want to discuss, maybe we've forgotten to, or maybe just not even talked about enough in depth. Just let us know what you guys want us to cover, because we do have some ideas. There's obviously a lot to talk about in the Toronto Blue Jays land with a playoff race down the stretch here in the middle of September. But just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. All the recent likes, comments, all of just the support that you guys have been giving us on the podcast has been very much appreciated. You guys are riding or dying with us on the Toronto Blue Jays, and that's our lives. That's what hopefully you guys are, grinding with us as well, because we love this Toronto Blue Jays team, and you guys do as well. And that's why we're kind of shooting it with you guys and talking with you guys about the Toronto Blue Jays, our favorite baseball team. But Brayden, anything else you want to bring up here for this weekend episode?
I got killed in fantasy football. I'm 0-3 right now. I'm hoping I'm going to scrape by a win. I don't know. I just need a Vikings win. That's all I need. I'll leave you with that. I'm cheering for the Vikings as you guys are watching this, probably, some of you. So I don't know. I need something. I don't know.